Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video I will be showing you 9 different habit tracker designs that you can try in your own bullet journal. So we're going to start with some pretty basic ones and then move into a couple that are a little complex, but you won't need any special tools or supplies for this, just a ruler, a black pen. If you have a colored marker, that can definitely help just add a little touch of aesthetic to it, but you don't have to have one. So this first one that we're doing is your standard horizontal tracker. So you're going to turn your journal sideways. For this video I'm using a Leuchtturm. Normally in my own journal I use a Nuna, but because most people have a standard notebook that's A5 size and has the 5mm dot grid, I wanted to show it in this. So you're going to turn your journal to your side and you're going to count out enough boxes for the month that you're creating your habit tracker for. So if it was for February, it'd be 28, for March it'd be 31, and so on and so forth. So I always do that in pencil just to make sure. And then you're going to create a rectangle that is, say, 30 or 31 units long. And then you have to know how many habits you want to include in your habit tracker ahead of time. So if you have 12 habits, you want to make your habit tracker 12 boxes tall. And then you're going to add all these little grids. There are other ways to do this that I will show you in a couple other ones, but the easiest way is just to make little boxes within. And then above, what I did is I used a Tombow marker, or you could use a Crayola or whatever marker you have, to create a line. Now one line above that I am writing the days of the month, so 1 through 31, and then where I have the marker I am putting the first letter of the day of the week, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then on your left hand column you would write in your habits, and then you can fill these in any number of ways. You could just color them in black, you could put a dot, you could color coordinate by day or by habit. I'm showing you a pattern tracker that I really like the outcome of. I've been using it in mine now for 2 months, and I do really like the way it looks. So you just alternate diagonal lines and it kind of creates these little diamond shapes when you have corresponding habits that you have filled in. So the next one is another horizontal tracker, and this is going to be very minimalistic. I started out with some marker on the left hand side, that's where I'll write the habits in, and then similarly to the standard habit tracker, you're going to create horizontal lines that are 30 or 31 in length depending on the month that you're doing. So now instead of having to draw that big grid and add all those lines, I just have those horizontal lines for each of my habits. And then to fill it in, you can just put dots on each of the lines under the specific day. The next one we'll be creating is a vertical tracker with icons to represent the habits. So this one you will turn your notebook the standard way and create a very similar rectangle as we did with the standard, except this time your icons will be along the top to represent your habits, and then the days of the month will go down the side. So in this one I'm showing you that you don't have to create a grid, you can just dot the dots on the page so that you still have those little boxes separated, and then you would choose icons for your habits, and I'm showing here that you could add a key if you don't know what all of them are, you think you'll forget. So for me I drew like a very minimalistic barbell to represent a workout and a peace sign to represent meditation. So the next one we're going to do is a circle tracker, and we're not going to use any circular stencils or anything like that. So I just grabbed a lid off of a jar that was in my kitchen and I traced around it in pencil. Now the next step that I do is take my ruler and do my best to find the very middle of that circle and draw it quadrants. And then I learned this through Planning with Kay, who is also on YouTube. The easiest way to divide this up without a protractor is to divide the entire circle into 32, and 32 is easier than 30 because you can divide it in half and have 16 and then divide those into 8 and then divide them into 4. So you divide it in half first and then create 16 on each side. So then each quadrant would have 8, and then what you'll do is just erase, depending on the month, you'll erase either 1 or 2 of those little spaces at the end of the circle, leaving enough room to create a little icon to represent your habit. So again, I'm not using anything to trace circles, so these are not perfect circles, but once you add the lines in there, it's not too bad. I do highly recommend that you start in pencil. With all of this, you might get a little bit better circles, and then you're guaranteed not to mess up those lines. Well, I can't say guaranteed, but you have a better chance of not messing up the number of lines you have going around if you do it in pencil first. So now I just did 3 habits just for the sake of this. You could definitely do more. You might have to make your circles a little tighter together. And then I am using my pen to draw those lines, and think of drawing them directly to the center of the circle, but you're not going to pull them all the way to the center of the circle. Stop at your innermost ring. And then I, for this bigger tracker, put my numbers on the outside of the circle rather than on the inside of each little box. Erase your pencil marks. I decided that I would just write the title of the habit tracker right here in the center. You could also add some nice doodles here or stickers. And then, as I did with the vertical tracker, I'm just adding some little icons that would represent the habits that I want to track for the month. And then here's just a quick way to fill it in with different colors if you wanted to go with the color scheme. Of course, I chose pink, so that's one easy way to fill this one in. This next tracker is one that is very highly inspired by Bujo with Becky on Instagram. I will leave her Instagram handle down in the description. I saw that she did a couple of these before, and I think they're very unique. They are quite time consuming, and I'm not going to create a whole 30-day tracker here. I'm just going to show you how to use it. So the first thing you do is pick a doodle that has multiple separate areas. So I did this kind of coffee cup theme, and then draw it at the top as your key, and then you're going to label each separate part of it as whatever the habit you want to track is. So like the bottom of the cup would be workout, and then the middle of the cup would be something else, and the top of the cup would be something else, and the lid would be something else, and the straw would be something else. So now comes the redundant part where you have to draw this exact same doodle 30 or 31 times over. And then, so for this I just did 3. And then for each day you would color in the corresponding space that you did the habit for. So if you worked out, you color in the bottom portion. If you did no spend, you would color in the top portion of the cup, and so on and so forth. Now we'll get into some mini habit trackers. A lot of people really love these. I like using them. They are a bit more time consuming because you do have to create one for each habit that you are tracking every month. So this first one is just a very simple long rectangle. So it'll depend how long you need it, but at the end portion, this part that you're seeing now, has to be at least 15 long. And then the little pink box off to the left is where you'll write your habit. So depending on how much space you need to write will depend on that extra space. But you need at least 15, and then that bottom one would make 15 more, so that's a total of 30. This definitely works best with an even number of days, so months that have 31, it's not going to look as clean or as aesthetic as the 30-day one. So then I just did the same grid as I did on the standard tracker, and then wrote the habit off to the side. This one is going to be a mini circular tracker similar to the big one. For this, I just grabbed a very skinny roll of washi tape, and I'm dividing it the same way. So I divided it into quadrants first, and then I divide each of those quadrants in half, and then divide each of those pieces in half again, which will give me a total of 32 little spaces. So then I flip my pencil over and erase one space, and that will give me 31 spaces. So then you're just going to trace over your circles, add your lines around, and for this one I like to write my days within the little space, although you could write them on the outside. I think it looks cleaner with the dates written on the inside. I have to turn my journal and write them in so that they kind of follow along with the line to make sure that they actually fit and that I can read them. And then you can write whatever habit you are tracking directly in the center of your circle. This next one is going to be a mini calendar tracker. You may have seen some of these. They are pretty easy to create. You want to draw a rectangle at the top, or at least section off in pencil a spot that is 7 boxes long. So that would be enough. 1 box equals 1 day of the week. So you have 7 boxes long. And then make sure that you have at least enough boxes below for all the days of the month. So if you have 5 weeks, you'll need at least 5 spaces. So for this one, I just did a month that had 31 days, and then I used that top box to color in and put the habit inside. You could also put the days of the week in that box to keep track of, and then you can just use your marker to color directly over the days that you actually do that habit. The last one is very similar but very minimalistic. Instead of writing in the days, you'll just use circles in place of the days of the month. And that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please hit the like button and be sure to subscribe for more videos.